Through moments of trial and triumph, the South Carolina Department of Public Safety has been there at some of the most pivotal times in our state's history. And to honor that history, our story begins in 1993. In a time of massive restructuring in South Carolina state government, then Governor Carroll Campbell abolished many state agencies' governing boards, giving the governor the power to appoint leaders of 13 state agencies. It was during this time of immense change that Governor Campbell created the South Carolina Department of Public Safety. Comprising this massive new agency at the time were the South Carolina Highway Patrol, two newly created law enforcement divisions, the State Transport Police and the Bureau of Protective Services, as well as the Department of Motor Vehicles and the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy.
When it became the Department of Public Safety, we became a part of the largest law enforcement agency in South Carolina. It was something new. It was an exciting time. Of course, Boykin Rose was the first director. He was very much a visionary leader and wanted to move the patrol leaps and bounds ahead of where it was at the time. And so, it was a time that was extremely exciting. It was a lot of fun.
Carroll Campbell called me one day and said, "Boykin, are you ready for an assignment?" I said, "Not really, Governor. I've got a young child. I'm ready to settle back down in Charleston. But come talk to me. Let's discuss it." Looking back on it, it's sort of scary. I mean, I wasn't smart enough to be scared about it. I just plowed into the job. I thought I just had a little bite and I could leave, but it turned out that I stayed for about 12 years or so.
But creating a multifaceted law enforcement agency with several divisions, each with a unique critical mission, meant first understanding what was working and what needed improvement. One of Director Rose's first orders of business was riding along with troopers to understand their needs as they transitioned under DPS.
4th of July weekend, 1993, they selected a trooper for him to ride with to fill him in on the ins and outs of the highway patrol, and that trooper happened to be me. And as we rolled around and we talked and we made arrests, we just talked about the future and what law enforcement was all about, how you treat people, how you build relationships, what highway safety was all about.
It didn't take long for Director Rose to understand his top priorities, many of which included boosting morale. He is credited with establishing a merit-based promotions process, increasing the career path by adding additional ranks and pay increases.
And most of the problems were not hard to solve. They were pretty simple, such as, getting bulletproof vests for our troopers, making sure they had the proper weapons and sidearms, making sure they had backup weapons.
Perhaps one of the most significant advances was the launching of the 800 megahertz communication system.
We were the first state in the union to have a fully integrated statewide communication system that communicated with not only our agency, but all other state agencies and local agencies and federal agencies, the first in the country.
And that commitment to technology by the agency has grown in leaps and bounds over the past 3 decades.
I started in 1989, we were still doing reports with number 2 pencils and carbon paper. And to where we are now in terms of the technology that drives how we do our job, I would say that's the most significant change for all of us, sure.
STP was one of the first ones to get the computers because we had the federal grants to go ahead and do it. I just found it awesome to have that much technology at your hand.
Exxon camera systems are a huge benefit, especially the body cams. It helps us see the interactions with the drivers and hear the interaction much better than we could before. It also helps us document violations on inspections, equipment violations and such. So that's been a huge asset to us.
Technology was only one piece of the puzzle in the early years of DPS, which was headquartered at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. Launching 2 new law enforcement divisions was no easy task. Both the Bureau of Protective Services, which was tasked with overseeing security across a 10-acre state house complex and other designated state facilities, and State Transport Police, whose mission was set to focus on commercial motor vehicle compliance, took more than a year to get fully up and running.
I call Commander Valderio the Godfather, because as I said, you know, he was here from day one. He developed our uniforms, our badges, the car design. So that's just a nickname I gave him. I don't know if anybody else calls him that, but I call him the Godfather because of all he's done for this division and getting it going.
I left it up to the people in these committees. Is this what you want? And I didn't see anything wrong with that. And Director Rose, he always supported me in everything that I'd done. And basically that's how it wasn't my idea, it was the ideas of all the people that worked under me. And this is what they wanted. I would throw in a little comment, do you think we need a little bit more of a stripe on here and be a little bit different than the other agencies within DPS? And they did it.
30 years later, what was created by the early leaders of the State Transport Police and the Bureau of Protective Services remains intact. Former BPS Chief of Police Zachary Wise, who joined in 1994, says he was taught early on the importance of good communication and partnerships with local, state, and federal agencies.
We couldn't do our job here at the Capitol without partnerships. One of the first major rallies that I worked here was the Martin Luther King Day rally back in 98 or 99, I can't remember the exact year, but it had over 50,000 people here at the Capitol. So if you could imagine standing on those steps and looking out all the way down Main Street at the vast amounts of people there. And little old BPS at the time, we may have had 73 guys on full time. And there was no way we could have done that without partnerships.
Current Chief of Police for the Bureau of Protective Services, Matthew Calhoun, was promoted to his position in June of 2020, at a time when civil unrest was not only taking the stage at the national level, but on the steps of our state's capital. But despite sometimes tense situations and long days, he fondly looks back at the numerous moments in history he's been able to witness firsthand.
Removing the flag, the Confederate flag, from the Capitol Dome, removing it from the State House grounds in 2015, all the inaugurations that we've worked, the presidential visits that we've had, and then the funerals that we have been a part of here at the Capitol have memories for me to just be a part of history in South Carolina and the United States.
Born from the Highway Patrol Size and Weight Team and the Public Service Commission, the mission and jurisdiction of the State Transport Police expanded to include federal regulations and hazmat regulations, in addition to state laws and enforcing size and weight restrictions. Commander Valderio, the only one to hold this title, was promoted from the ranks of the Highway Patrol to lead STP. While he now wears a Highway Patrol uniform these days due to his work in the Insurance Enforcement Unit, he proudly emphasizes how important STP's mission is in saving lives.
The authority that the STP has is far more than what any other agency has, because they enforce the regulations on the federal side that come through the state legislature. So you don't need probable cause to stop anybody. You're out there to save lives. An 80,000-pound truck can do a whole lot of damage.
Very proactive in what we do. We don't respond to calls as often as other divisions do. And we also have the power through the inspection process to get unsafe drivers and vehicles off the road before a collision can happen. So we don't know how many lives we actually are saving out there, but we're definitely making a difference. I can see the difference since I came on in '94. The trucks are in much better condition out there on the roadways.
Colonel Dill joined the State Transport Police in the very first recruiting class and is now the first colonel to work his way up through the ranks of STP. Today, he and others acknowledge that each leader makes their mark in their own way, and each inch forward in progress is something they are incredibly proud of.
We've had great leaders from the beginning, and I'm just proud of the progress we've made thus far, and I know that's going to continue. We have very talented people in our division, and I know even after my time is done that they will continue to move the agency forward.
And for the last, 12 years, I either sat in this chair or the one right across the hall. And that's a long time when you're talking about leadership within the Highway Patrol. It makes me feel like if you put the right people in place, and what an organization needs more than anything is stability.
The days are long, but the months and the years are just so short, and each and every day to be blessed to work in this organization has been a godsend for me personally and professionally, and I'm just glad to be a part of the first 24 of the 30 years at the Department of Public Safety.
Extremely gratifying, but more importantly, it's humbling. To know that I started at the ground level in this organization, and I have been extremely blessed through the years to be put in positions where I can contribute to the agency. I've always had a desire, no matter where I was or where I was going to be when I left the agency, to leave it better than what I found it, in whatever that role was.
And it's that sense of pride Director Woods hopes is felt by troopers, officers, and civilian staff members who dedicate themselves daily to our agency's mission of protecting, educating, and serving.
So be proud of what you do, be proud of the organization in which you serve, and always, although times can be challenging, okay, know that you're making a difference. You are truly making a difference every day.